everyone. How are you doing? Hope everything is going on well. Hi, fine. Welcome to Life of Value TV. So today we're looking at protecting children in abusive environment. You know, as much as we know that abuse happens and is been on the high increase or on the increase in recent times. Now, we're looking at children in an abusive environment. What can we do to them? How can we protect them? As much as adults can, you know, in an abusive relationship or marriage can take a work or can try to survey the situation or protect themselves, what happens to the children who don't have the mind of their own and live to, sometimes manifest these abusive tendencies or whose life is dependent on that of the adult. So what can we do to these children? How can we preserve and protect these children? Now, in discussing this, I'm going to be talking about the roles of um, different class of people in relation to the protection of these children. So starting from the school, what can a teacher in a school do to protect children in an abusive environment? Now, a lot of abuse over time happens in school. Now, because the children are in that environment, you see senior students abusing junior students, you see issues of bullying, issues of forced lesbianism, forced homosexuality. A lot of things happen. Physical abuse, emotional abuse. Most of these senior students would say a whole lot of things affecting the psychology, the mental state of these junior students. So it happens. We can't deny the fact that abuse happens in school. Now, for a school that have been getting reports of abuse, what can they do? First of all, when these people, the abusers are identified, they should be expelled so as to deplete the multiplication rate of abuse. Now, if 15 people or 10 students have been identified as the main culprit or abusers in school and they are suspended or asked to leave, it will save the other students from learning that abusive character. And for those who have been abused, it will, the fear first will be reduced. Like these students are no more, so I can live my life. Now, many children, you know, keep to themselves and not even relate to the abuse because these abusers are still in school. Now, for a school, beyond expelling the students who are the abusers, if identified, therapy has to commence, counseling has to commence. Teachers, when you notice some change in behavior of students who are lively students, suddenly they are withdrawn. Try to know what is happening. And when you find out that this is a case of abuse, now most of these students, if they are these students that could be abused from home, it could be abused in their environment, neighborhood, friends, and they're able to open up to you as a teacher. You must report this to the parents and the counseling must happen. Because if there is no counseling therapy on these children, they might grow up to think that those things are normal, and because it has happened to them, they have to retaliate. Now, a student who is left to himself and endures this abuse as a junior student, when they enter the senior class, they want to retaliate. Many students are just taking in the abuse, like when I become a senior student, what I will do to these ones. And the people that will receive the anger, the rage of the retaliation didn't know what happened. So it's more like passing it from one generation to the other. These seniors abused me, so I'm going to abuse the junior students. So the school have a big role to play in ensuring that abuse is curtailed as much as protecting the children in the school environment. Now, if this abuse is in the home front, how do we protect the children? For a mother who is aware that the child is being abused, what are you doing? For a father who is aware that the child is being abused, maybe in the home front or in the neighborhood or somewhere, what are you doing? First of all, identify the abuse. Identify the abuser, deal with the abuser, deal with the abuse in terms of, you know, psychological reshaping which can come from therapy or counseling. If, for example, your neighbors are abusing your children, or as a wife, your husband physically abuses your children beyond normal, or even as a husband, your wife abuses children emotionally, psychologically, physically. There are some women when they hit children, you wonder, yeah, this really their children? It's excessive. He has done to abuse. Correction is not abuse. So if you are correcting your children and you tend to be abusing them, then you're not doing the right thing. So we must understand the level which we can go in correcting our children before it transcends to physical abuse. Many mothers are guilty of physical abuse, emotional. They tell things to their children. Their children, they just feel like they are nothing. You tell your child that you regret ever giving birth to the child, that the child is a bad luck, that the child is the cause of the problem in the family, that the child is cursed. How do those children feel? That's what another thing you have to think. So when abuse happens in a home front, either the father or the mother, who the person who is not abusing must rise up to the occasion. If the abuse is from the mother, the father should rise up to the occasion to preserve the future of these children. Caution the person who is abusing. If it's maybe physical abuse, emotional abuse, caution, serious caution. Then you have a work to play on the mind of the child. Let the child know that this is abnormal so that the child will not replicate it. Let the child know that, see, maybe if the father is the one abusing them physically, when they want to beat them to extent that they have wounds and marks on their body, emotional abuse. Let them know that this is wrong. And maybe something is wrong with mom or dad. That's why they're behaving this way. Please see this. This is wrong. Don't replicate it outside. Let the child be reintegrated to like know that there is the essence of love in the family. Because the child might grow up thinking that I'm being hated, nobody loves me, that is why. And the child gets withdrawn and that love dies. The child will not show love to the next person. So we must take up the role of counseling. If it's beyond you, involve a third party to help you counsel, advise. And now, if it's excess, take that child away from that environment. In advanced countries, when things like this happen, the welfare will come and take the child because it seems like you're not ready to be a mother or a father. And even maybe parents are not willing to play their role as parents. So, but in a society where yes, we have the welfare, but sometimes it does just come to caution. So, in that instance, what can happen if you have the capacity to take the child away? If the child needs to go to a boarding school or a family, another family or another environment to just stay away from that abusive environment. If it can happen, let it happen to safeguard the future of a child. Many abusers were children whose lives were ruined, who saw abuse as a normal thing, who grew up seeing their father beat the hell out of their mother, who grew up seeing their mother fight their father, who grew up under that verbal abuse. They feel like it's nothing. So for them, they can even abuse because they've learned it and they have, for them it has nothing on them because it's not new to them. They can take it. So you see them verbally abusing others. So because you see that we are talking of abuse, these are product of children who went through these things and nothing happened. Nobody counseled them, nobody tell them that this is wrong. They grew up becoming sadists, wicked, they grew up having those abusive tendencies and they meet it out on people because they've seen it somewhere. So we must rise up to the occasion because if we don't do anything to the children to salvage them from this abusive environment, they will grow up to become abusers themselves. Now, what is the role of the church? We in this climb, in this jurisdiction, we many people are very religious, and we have many times see that the church has an influence on people in this climb, in this jurisdiction. So as well as a church, I appeal to those related to children, the children church, the junior church. The teachers in that sector must put their eyes down. Look at me because sometimes these children are very open when they come to church. They are open because they see that their teacher as a representative of Jesus or depending on your religion. So they can open up to their teacher. So as teachers in the children church, your eyes must be down. Look, notice when there's a notice in behavior, the behavioral pattern of a child, ask questions. Sometimes engage them, discuss with them, ask them what is happening. They might well be able to tell you, "But this is what is happening in our house. This is what this uncle did to me. This is what this auntie is doing. This is what this our neighbor is. This is what my dad is doing to me. This is what my mom is doing to me." So that way you will have an idea of what is happening to these children and how you can come in to salvage the situation. These children are the future we see. These children are the they are the tomorrow we are talking about. They represent the leaders of tomorrow. When we don't get it right, when a child is an abusive environment and nothing is done in the psychology of a child, and the child is exposed every 10 years, 15 years, the child is hardened, and nothing for the child is nothing. And you see them replicate that action. So if you're opportune to work with children in any sector, in any environment, please let your eyes be down. Once there's a problem, stand up to the society education and start solving it. It might take time. For a child who has lived 10 years, 15 years and seen abuse, it's not gonna be a one-day thing. It has to be a continual consider there must be a continual progression in therapy, in counseling, and to ensure that these children come out from that idea or from that mindset of abuse. Many families don't even know their children are abused. So, if, for example, a child confides in you as a teacher in maybe the church or in the society or in the class or in a formal and informal environment, you have a role to reach out to the family to see, are you aware this is happening to this child? What have you done so far to to salvage the situation or to protect the child from further abuse? Now, for every child who continues to stay in an abusive environment, it damages their mind, damages their future, damages their sense of reasoning, makes them feel abuse is normal, and they turn out to become abusers. So we must rise up to the occasion as a father, as a mother, as an auntie, as a church, as a society, as a school, in any environment, and their children, they must rise, even as a neighbor. If you notice that particular set of children have been abused, either by their house help or whoever, and you are aware, please rise up to the occasion. Don't hide it. No hiding. Speak to anybody you can speak to, the parents, or if you need to go to the welfare office to report, or just to salvage them. These children, they know a lot of things, and if you don't tell them the right thing, they might take the wrong for the right. And when they take the wrong for the time, they grow with it, they become these abusers we're talking about. Because let's deal with the problem from the root. Let's deal with the problem from the root. I also have the society, and on the part of the society, the government has to step up, because we're supposed to have, counselors, you know, free counselors, because many people feel I don't have money for counseling. Well, I can just talk to. Sometimes it's beyond you. If it's beyond you as a parent, then you involve a third party. So these things should be assessed free of charge. There should be counselors in health centers. There should be counselors in schools, posted to schools. Even if they're not there permanent. Maybe every week there should be a counselor in a school, so that these children can confide in their counselors to see, this is what is happening to me. Now, teachers must also be trained to counsel. They must know the counseling skills, how to, because many of these children, until you don't, they may not open to you until you do some things. There are tricks, there are things you need to do to ensure that they open up to you. Most of them are so hardened that they cannot even talk out of fear or out of other things. So teachers must be trained in counseling. Psychologists must be available. So the society, the government can do this. They put up, these personalities in public environment or public spaces so that people can reach out to them. There can be free toll lines you can call if you want to speak to a counselor, confidential things you can speak to them about. So in training our teachers, we must train them psychologically, we must train them to be counselors too, because if teachers are certified counselors too, it will make the work easier. So we must preserve our children. Let's do all we can. You need to remove them from our environment, remove them. They need to go through therapy, let them go through therapy. You need to talk to them, counsel them. counsel them. It's not a one-day thing. It's something you keep doing for them to understand, yes, that my father is beating my mother is not normal. It's not the right thing. That my mom fights my father, that we are verbally abused is not good. That someone is sexually harassing or abusing me is wrong, and I should speak out. Let's inculcate the 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 spirit, I call it the spirit or the virtue of boldness in our children. Because if a child hides and will not be able to explain certain things happening to them or around them, it might be a problem. So let your children know that it is the right thing to speak up. Anybody does anything, the right thing to speak up. Let the children know, for example, sexual abuse is paramount. Let the children know this is where someone should not touch me. This is where someone should see. These are the public parts of my body. This is the private part of my body. If somebody does something to me, I should be able to say that. Things, sex education must be taught from the early ages. These are things we can do. Let's teach our children the right things, the right virtues. Let's put in the godly virtues in them, the right thing, the right behavior. Because many children don't know the right behavior, just behave anyhow. So we must teach our children so that they will understand what is happening and where the world is in now. A lot of things are going on wrong. So our children must know about them, and we must tell them this is wrong, this is right. And for anything that happens to you, be bold enough to tell me. Because many children have seen certain things that because they can't say they're afraid. Why speak saying it that might have saved someone's life? So preserving and protecting our children, it should be a clarion call for everyone. It should be a clarion call for everyone. Let the government, put let things, the jingles, announcements, cartoons, anyhow we need to, make sure that we disperse the information should be done. Let it be discussed on all forums. Let children know about it. Let's preserve our children from abuse by taking away from the abusive environment, letting them know that abuse is wrong, instilling the right virtues in them. So, friends, it's been a wonderful time. I hope you learned something. If you have further comments or your advice, drop it on the comment section. If you have questions, also put it there. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe to this channel. For those who have subscribed, thank you for subscribing. And I know that you've learned one or two things from this video today. Thank you, and stay safe.